Good morning. Welcome back to another Monday morning mentoring. I'm Stefana, and it's another day to be alive. So happy Monday. I think that the most important thing that I want to get across for us today is that we must be creative before we are reactive. I've been saying it for years. Even more so right now, we've got to embrace this idea that being creative before reactive is of the utmost importance. So what does that mean? I'm going to give you an example from something that will hopefully give you a little sense of peace and calm because it's hindsight. When my former husband was taken to the hospital with a cardiac arrest, he was in a different town, and he was essentially arrived to the emergency room dead. So he was defibbed 3 times, and he went through a whole process. And during that time, I had the choice to either go into agreement with what was going on, the reported world, what was being reported by the experts. And I also had the choice to make a different conscious choice and be creative. Because after all, we as humans are at our core creative beings. And one of the things that we want to remember and redevelop is that skill of being creative. I mean, look around at how far we've come in just the last 20 years. We expand that to 100 years, and you can see how far we've come as a species. And when we look at it from a gratitude place, a place of appreciation, there is a significant amount of things that we can be grateful for and express that. So that can also shift where our energy is going. So going back to this situation, in that moment, I had the opportunity to practice being creative versus reactive, versus following the reported world. And if we can take lessons from this point of understanding that this is an opportunity. So what is this moment in time allowing for us to learn? What is the most important thing for you to learn during this time? Maybe that's that you are more resilient than you think. Maybe that's that kindness is incredibly powerful. Maybe that is that gratitude does work. Maybe that is being more calm, or maybe that is getting out in nature is more important, or maybe, all right? So you'll have to find that out for yourself. And I want you to take that personal responsibility for discovering for yourself, what is it that brings you the calm and that sense of centeredness, so that you can then go lead your life, lead your business, and do what you need to do. To put forward what only you can put forward into this world. And understanding as we go through this, just to give you the finishing touches of the reported world versus that creative world. And I went in detail on this in other videos and a blog post if you ever want to read about it. I went in detail, specifically point by point on this. You've got the reported world, that he was essentially brain dead. He was this. In 4 days, I had him out of there 100% perfect, and essentially perfect back to whole, healthy, happy, harmonious. And what I did with my boys, and there were 3 of us, me, my 2 sons, we were in total harmony with this one creative concept, and that is daddy, happy, healthy, and at home. And that's the only thing that our reality was. Now, is that just ignoring everything else that's going on? No, I was up 24/4 for those 4 days while he was in the ICU, and I was dealing with all these other particles that were coming in, all the things that they do in ICU every hour on the hour, that he was put in a coma, that he was given $250,000 worth of drugs and surgery and all this other, not surgery, because they just had him in a coma because they didn't know what was wrong. They only knew that he had had a heart attack and brain dead. But that's the reported world. We live in a creative world if we can step outside of all of the confusion and chaos and rumor mongering and fear mongering and not go into agreement with that. Does it mean that the COVID isn't bad or the virus or the flu? Do you know how many people died yesterday from heart disease or cancer or suicide? You know, we've got to start stepping back and looking at where's our source? Where is our information coming from? And do we trust that source? I think, you know, there's a lot to that, but let's step back and really tune back into who we are at our core and what we're here to do, and come back to that connection to our sense of selves. And as if you're a parent, if you're a mom, keep your children from going into agreement with this insanity of fighting over rolls of toilet paper. We want to show our children that that is not what we need to be doing as humans at any point, right? So being kind, being present, expressing gratitude. My goodness, if you look outside, the sun is shining. We have air to breathe. We have so much. And so if we can just take that moment and express gratitude, it can simplify things very quickly. And, you know, it reminds me also of a time when I took survivalist courses. And one of the first 4 things, actually the only 4 things you do when you go out and you have not a stitch of clothing, no weapons, no tools, nothing, not even a match. And you learn to survive. The first thing you do is you find shelter, because the human body will need shelter. If it's from the elements, from the predators, etc., the shelter's the number one thing you go for. You find shelter and you create fire because of warmth, right? So the body, even before food and water, if your body's going to die in a temperature if it's too hot or too cold. So fire, usually for cold, we're going to establish that. Plus, it also has other properties that are elemental to us. Well, the majority of the human population has shelter or has access to shelter, so that's handled. And for the most part, we have warmth because we've got clothing and that. So. The other 2 that we would go after that point is water and then food. So I think this frenzy that we're seeing, toilet paper, to hear my mother, who's almost 80, say she observed someone fighting over toilet paper and seeing that makes me sad. And it makes me sad that she observed that and thinks that is like, this is not reality. This is not how humans need to be reacting and responding to things, to fight over toilet paper. And that's a poor way to wipe your ass, by the way. It's just stupid. So water is much more effective. Soap and water, lavender oil to wash your butt, your bottom, and take care of all that nice hygiene. That's a whole other video. The thing is, we have to remind ourselves, what's our source? Where are we taking our information from? So let's do that this week. Let's communicate. I know it gets really scary when it's constantly being fed, and then it perpetuates itself, and then we get this ripple effect. So let's see if we can reverse that ripple effect, and we can we can shift that idea to a more calm, centered place, and intend that. And let's see what our created world can be. Let's see what you can, what I can, what we can create in the midst of this reported world. Can we create something better from this? What is it that we need to learn to expand from this point of attraction and what's going on, and then let's expand out the way that we're observing how we're getting this information. So if we're only looking through this point of understanding, then we're missing maybe what came before and perhaps what comes after. So we might need to expand out and look at the whole picture. This is a huge piece, because I can go into an organization and I'll see, because I have that 50,000 foot view, and I'm outside of the emotions and outside of the mental and the confusion that's almost being created. And when you can step outside of that, you start seeing pieces of the whole, and it starts making a lot more sense when you see the lies, or you observe that there's altered truth on the line. And when there's altered truth on the line, but someone doesn't know it, that is a really powerful way for someone to confuse another, and for someone to make someone think that it's their fault or they're confused. This is insidious, and it shows up in sexual abuse cases, in lies and criminal cases, and we have a lot of criminality out there. But that doesn't mean we have to go into agreement or the effect of it. So this is where we are going to have to step up and really come up to a much higher level of cause as human beings, as people who are willing to pay the price of freedom, which is constant alertness, constant willingness to fight back in a way that is sane and not zealot-like or not dogmatic-like, but truth-like, because the truth will set us free. And that's what we need to look at. That's what we need to be doing it. And I think we've been frogs in that boiling pot for a very long time. And we have to wake up to this. So that's my 2 cents for this morning and our Monday morning mentoring. So I'm going to go back to these basics. Let's be creative before we're reactive. Let's look at where's the source of our information coming from, no matter what that information that's coming down, and that we do not have to react. We need to respond with clarity. We need to respond with a calm sense of self-awareness. And then in that self-awareness, as leaders, we have to take that responsibility. So you are going to have to step up to that leadership role of whatever that is, whether it's leading your family, leading your company, leading your environment, leading your community, whatever that role is. Step into that from a place of being present. What is your intention? Lighten up and let go of sometimes we're going to have to listen with our third ear, right? Listen from our heart instead of just listening with our ears and what's being pushed out there. And then observe what's really going on. Observation is noticing without judgment, and then using the right tool at the right time. Just went through the whole Pilot Your Way method. If you want to dive into that a little deeper, I'll post a couple of links to the videos for your Pilot Your Way method. We've got to get back into taking back control of our own thoughts, our own emotions and reactions, and rise above that. So if we know we're starting to get a little bit panicky because of certain things, you've got to rise above that and not operate or react off from that level. because it's just going to perpetuate the situation that's going on. All right, post your comments below and let me know how things are going. I definitely want to hear from people, and I want to make sure that you know that you are not alone. And if there is fear, what is it that is going to what takes place of fear? What eliminates fear? You want to remember that equation, because fear is really, it's just like darkness. When people don't realize they can turn on that light switch, you've got to recognize that and come back to the power of simplicity. We don't want to complicate things during this time. Simplicity is so powerful during this time. So turn that light switch on, let the dark be illuminated, okay? And use this as an opportunity to learn and to grow and to expand into our higher selves instead of being more puppets and in that situation. Okay, let's see. I just want to make sure I went over everything. I'm just going to reiterate this again. Parents, it is your job as a parent. I'm speaking rhetorically. It's my job. It's our job as parents to ensure our children are safe, and that means mentally and emotionally safe as well. They do not need to be involved in any of these adult conversations. I think a lot of the adult conversations that are on the news are meant to create a negative impact, a negative effect. Please turn your TVs off, do not let your children be observing this panic. I think it is horrific to allow our children to experience this insanity in that way, and it is our job as parents to ensure that they are safe mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. That's our job. So we've got to do that. I'll just repeat that one piece there. Teach your children calm and kindness. Go walk in nature. You know, there's not a lot of people out right now. You're not going to go and get a virus walking in nature. So walking in nature, taking deep breaths, calmly observing the beautiful butterflies. It's spring. We're seeing the blossoms on the trees. Start observing and appreciating the beauty of our amazing planet and this amazing day to be alive, and enjoy and celebrate the beauty of the moment here. Yeah, let's get our check where our order of importances are on that, okay, as parents, and lead your family that way. And I would suggest this could go right on out with leading our own companies and leading helping with our clients, okay? So sending out peace and blessings to all, and may we all wake up and be aware, and yeah, okay, peace and blessings.